Start, everyone. It's now 1 o'clock. I advise that Council will be recording this meeting today to be webcast and available on the internet. As such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Can I ask that all councillors during the duration of the meeting limit discussions only to the business on the agenda and what is permissible under the adopted Code of Meeting Practice. Members and officers are asked to be upstanding for the opening prayer. Can I call upon Reverend Travis Lyons to lead us in prayer?
Thank you, councillors. Right. Lord, I want to first give you thanks for the rain we've had in our shire. I will give you thanks for the great rain it has been. Lord God, we just thank you for this meeting. Thank you for our mayor. Thank you for our councillors as they meet today. Pray that you give them great wisdom as they speak. Pray you guide their conversation. Lord God, we thank you for this great shire of Narrabri. We continue to pray for its prosperity, for its income, and for its great future. And we just lay all of this in your hands as we meet together today. In the mighty name of Jesus, we all said amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Lyons. Appreciate it. Acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge that we meet today on the traditional lands of the Kamilaroi, Gamilaroi, Gomeroi people. I recognise their continuing connection to this land and pay my respects to elders past and present, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal people present here today. I'd also like to recognise servicemen and women. Council acknowledges the sacrifice made by Australian servicemen and women, in particularly those who gave their lives in defence of the freedom we enjoy today. You may be seated, everyone. Apologies and granting of leave of absence. I've got a couple of apologies. We've got Councillor Browning.
One for Councillor Lamont and one for Councillor Clements, as they're both in Parliament today.
Yep.
Fighting for resources for regions.
Yep. So those are leave of absence applications, are they?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I've also got one for Councillor Campbell as well, who is in Brisbane for a health reason. So that's the same. Can I have a mover on those?
Mayor, can I also have noted that what Councillor Browning was saying, that the two councillors in Councillor Lamont and Clements are attending on council matters, not council business, council matters, as opposed to being recreational or work related.
Yep, I understand that. No worries, that'll be noted.
Have that noted in the minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowell. Yes. No worries. Yep. No worries.
We didn't put the reason on the resolution. What you're saying is for the reason stated above.
No worries. Councillors, I would move that we collectively move a motion around leave of absence. Do I have any? Do I have a mover on that we collectively moved by Councillor Browning, seconded by Councillor Bowen? All those in favour? Those against?
Can I clarify something? Sorry,
Sure.
Mayor.
Councillor Richardson?
Just point of clarity, did council send those councillors to Parliament? So should it not, if it's not a council matter, shouldn't it say community? I just think that being a council matter implies that they're there on behalf of council. That's, I think, the point of clarity. I think it's great that they're fighting for the community, but I don't think they're fighting on behalf of council.
Mm. Okay, that's fair. Good comment. Everyone happy with that? Thank you,
Well, I
Councillor
made
Richardson.
a special note there that they were on council matters, not council business, or attending on behalf of council, but they are, in fact, representing this council on the matter of future funding for to replace the resources for region funding. That is the specific need for that, and I think it needs to be noted that their council matters as opposed to representing council
Sorry.
on business.
Councillor Bowen, sorry, sorry, you may be seated. They haven't been instructed by council, so they are making representations on behalf of the community at this stage. But look forward to an update from them, and we're grasping at straws here. But I think it's just important that we clarify that. Okay, everyone happy for us to deal with this matter together? All those in favour of these leave of absences being granted? All those against? It's carried. Thank you. The same movers and seconders. We'll just wait for the minute taker just to catch up, if that's all right with everyone. Okay, let's move on to item number 5. Councillors are reminded of their obligation to declare their interest in any matters listed before them. In considering your interest, you are reminded to include pecuniary, non-pecuniary and conflicts of interest, as well as any other interest you may perceive or may be perceived of you. Councillors may declare an interest at the commencement of the meeting or alternatively at any time during the meeting should any issue progress or arise that would warrant a declaration. Councillors must state their reason in declaring any type of interest. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest at this stage? Councillor Richardson?
Yeah. Councillor Richardson, as on our screen, I've got a non-significant non-pecuniary interest. My current employer is funding the Glentarkey Home for Age, which is in the DA 20240044.
Thank you very much, Councillor Richardson. That's noted. Thank you.
Sorry, and I will leave the chamber for that item.
Okay, thank you. Any other items to be declared? Okay. Items to be considered in the confidential public excluded. We do have an item today to be considered, and that will be. We'll go through those reasons very shortly. Presentations. There are nil presentations today. Nil presentations today. Confirmation of minutes from the last meeting. I assume everyone's read the minutes from the last meeting. Any comments or critiques or concerns for the last minutes? No? Could I have a mover for those minutes? Councillor Dickinson, Councillor Browning, thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion? Anyone else? Those any for or against? I'll move that motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Attendance by audio-visual link. We don't have an application today. Matters of great urgency. We do have a matter of great urgency that has arisen, which is about the situation of the Yarra Lakes bins. Robert, would you like to move this as a matter of great urgency? And we need a seconder for that as well,
Yes,
please.
yeah, I would like to, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Dickinson, would you like to, could you state the reasons for why you believe it's a matter of great urgency and stick very much to the rationale about why it's a matter for great urgency?
I haven't actually fully read this because it wasn't actually in the agenda, but
Yep.
It's been for the last 20 years that council has provided a service to pick up the skip in Yarra Lake, and it's been now, I think, 3 months since that's happened. I think Councillor Campbell's business picked them up, the Yarra Lake Committee paid for that, but it would be good to have this continued on.
But it's a matter of great, you've got to speak to the matter of it being urgent. Why it's important.
Through the chair, I could possibly help out Councillor Browning if that does help. The reason this has become a matter of urgency is that it does require a decision of council, and it quite urgently requires a decision of council. There was a report that was written by staff for this meeting. However, our system seems to have left the report out, and from a GM perspective, I believe it is one of those items that should duly be considered at this meeting rather than be delayed further until the December meeting with the, if councillors are obliging of that matter.
That'd be very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is there anyone else who, simply the motion is that we consider this as an item of great urgency. Anyone else like to yay or nay against this, please? For or against it being a matter of great urgency? There being no further comments, I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour of this being moved as a matter of great urgency? All those against? That's carried. Now it requires, our standing orders require that the chair also makes a decision on whether it's a matter of great urgency, and I do rule that it is a matter of great urgency that this is considered by this meeting. Do we need to adjourn for 5 minutes just to review the document in front of us? Because I'd like to adjourn for 5 minutes exactly for us just to read the paperwork in front of us. Is that enough time, councillors? Is that enough time? So I'd like to adjourn at 10 minutes past 1. Councillor, that we will move back into the council meeting if everyone's happy with that. Everyone's had a chance to read this this document. Before we turn this recommendation into a motion, I'd like to call upon the Director of Infrastructure Delivery, Eloise Chaplin, just to speak briefly on this this paper. Eloise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You'll see that my team prepared a report. Fortunately, it didn't make the agenda, but we have it now as a matter of urgency. It gives a really good history of what's been provided by council to the trust. It goes way back. It's very thorough with the information. So back in 1999, council resolved to provide the trust a financial contribution of $40,000 split across 2 financial years. And then the next one is in 2010, we provided 12 240-litre bins. And then we just recently provided 40 240-litre bins to the trust. And it also details in 2004 how council resolved to continue providing a service of a single skip bin service. This matter has not been back to council to resolve this. We have been doing 2 skip bins, so we need to bring it to council to resolve what council actually wants to do. So the ongoing cost for the collection of 2 skip bins of this waste is $100 per bin per pickup. That's the estimate. And depending on the frequency, it could be fortnightly or monthly, which we can determine once. But that gives you an idea of the cost to council. I have noted in the report, it talks about the Community Financial Assistance Grant Policy, the CFAG, that just came through council. This type of cost wouldn't be able to go to the CFAG because this is a running cost. And with the CFAG, it doesn't provide for council to fund running cost. So this is a running cost, and you can see in the recommendation that it is for the remainder of this financial year, and then in the development of next financial year's budget, that's where we can capture it next time. But we needed to come to council to make a decision on the ongoing funding of the pickup of those 2 skip bins. Yes, I think that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. Very much appreciate that. Just before we move into turning it into a motion, do we have any questions of the General Manager or the Director about the paper or anything in relation to this particular matter? Any questions, comments, concerns? No?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Councillor.
I just,
Dickinson.
the recommendation 2, that council determine the continuation of this financial support for the trust beyond this financial year in the 24-25 operational plan and budget. We still sort of don't know how much that's going to be, do we?
Sorry, state that again, please. Sorry.
Point 2, that council determine the continuation of this financial support for the trust beyond this financial year in the 24-25 operational plan and budget. Just wondering, we don't know what that's going to be to us, do we? So do we leave that in, or?
So
I understand that we need to pick up the rubbish for the continuation of this budget. That sounds fair to me.
Yep.
But then to say it's 24-25 when we don't know how much it's going to cost.
I think it's just a matter of it being part of the consideration, but I'll give it to the General Manager.
Through the
Okay.
chair, all that clause is referring to is the fact that we will be more informed about what those costs will be as we develop the 24-25 operational plan, and therefore council can resolve a particular sum of money as part of that process rather than it just being an open-ended cheque.
Good question. But it's part of the consideration. So we're not locking ourselves in, we're just saying, you know, it'll be part of the consideration for the next operational plan and budget. Any other questions or concerns, etc.? I'd now like to move this as a motion. I'm going to move this myself, and can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Browning, would you like to second this? Okay. I won't speak to this motion. Suffice to say that I think Yarra Lake's a very, very important. It's not just an important facility for Narrabri Shire, but it's important for the region. It's been a great recreational resource for the area, and I know how passionate Councillor Browning is about this, and a number of our councillors, and look forward to hearing what he has to say about this as well.
No, I just, thanks for saying that. I think that Yarry Lake, like you say, is a very, very important part of this community. And as you can see, the council has always sponsored this, and I'd just like to see the continuation. It's pretty simple. I would like a member of the trust to come and speak on this and inform council of, how much and how long and everything else would be very, very good. Thank you.
Sounds very good. Thank you very much, Councillor Browning. Do I have any other speakers for or against? Councillor Bong.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd really like to support this motion. I think both recommendations are vital at this point. And I think it's important that we actually, probably the most important part is we actually get it into the forward budgets. That's really what the most important part of this is about. I mean, we're making reparation at the moment just to get the show back on the road, but I think critically now that we actually make a decision that it will go into future years' budgets, and we don't really get ourselves in a position of running behind, because as Councillor Browning has pointed out, this is one of the most important recreational facilities in the Shire, and that we need to make sure that as a leader of the community that we totally endorse what the Trust is doing on behalf of the community, and that Council does support it.
Thanks, Councillor Bong. Do I have any other speakers? Councillor Redding.
Yes. Comment probably more than anything. I'm just a bit concerned that we are setting a precedent here for other organisations around, such as we have the showground, we have the Weewar showground, we have the Bogabro showground, we have race courses, we have a number of sporting associations around, polo cross, and that is what my main concern is at the moment. I'm quite happy to go to the end of the financial year, but I think we need a much further discussion as to whether we're going for 2024-25.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments for or against this motion? Any other comments? Councillor, I'm the mover. I'm not going to say anything more. I'll put it to the motion. I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Questions with notice. We have no questions with notice today. We do have a mayoral minute though, which is just a number of matters. It's actually been a busy few weeks, I have to say, but there's been a fair few things on, and I've been ably helped by other councillors as well. So thank you for your support and help. A number of these events. We're coming into the festive season, so there's obviously invitations flooding in left, right, and centre, and it's been lovely to see the whole Shire sort of celebrating at the moment, which is great. But any comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, it's with some joy I look at your report and see just how busy you've been, and I think you've probably broken records from the most recent occupier of your seat, and probably many before it, for a month worth of activity. So it's good to see that. It's also good to see that you are broadening the brush to speak with people of all political persuasions. That's really another important thing that I would like to note. So I don't have any specific questions about your activity individually, but I'm just saying, rising to say that it's good to see that the Mayor is busy on a whole bunch of fronts, and if we could just then perhaps as a council body to actually get a little bit of advance warning on some of these issues, and then when appropriate to provide an opportunity for any councillor to attend in those circumstances. I just it's good to see you doing stuff, but if we were to know what is on and whether we're going to be, there's opportunity for us as councillors to become part of those processes, then I would certainly welcome that opportunity if that were to come. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment, Councillor Bowman. I'd just like to clarify, every single mayor in this seat has been very hardworking, and I just, it's just, it is, there's a lot on as mayor, and it's taken me by surprise to a certain extent how much, how many appointments and openings and this, that, and the other. It's just been wonderful. We live in a great community, and I've really enjoyed, meeting so many people out in our great shire. So thanks for your comments, Councillor Bohm. You might need to switch that off.
Oh, I apologise.
Councillor Redding.
If you could maybe provide a bit of an update on the 7th of November, you attended a virtual meeting regarding the Narrabri SAP.
Yes.
Have we had any official documentation on that as yet? And what was the general feel of that meeting?
That is it's an excellent question, Councillor Redding. So I might actually hand over to the General Manager, perhaps to the Planning Director, to talk through that. We did have that, and I actually raised that with the public servants that we met with at that stage about this, but through the General Manager to the Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through the General Manager. Yes, we had a meeting with the senior public servants who have confirmed that the Narrabri Special Activation Precinct won't be proceeding as a SAP. That has since been formalised in writing to us. There has been a commitment for the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment to assist with a state-led rezoning process to focus on the work in the residential space that we've been discussing for quite a while. We do have a staff level meeting with the DPE team in the next couple of weeks to understand what that landscape's going to look like further. I do also understand that the department's going to coordinate a workshop with councillors early in the new year to discuss next steps and the roles and respective responsibility of each of the agencies. So it is a little bit fluid at the moment, but at least we've got a clear indication in terms of where that project might be heading from a state government policy perspective.
Thank you very much, Director. It's good to know that they are willing to continue talks on some level. That is very encouraging. Just one more question, and I'm not sure if we have this information. The EV stations, the usage of those, do we have an indication of what it's like?
It's an exceptionally good question.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, through the General Manager again. Early days at this stage, however, staff are working, as councillors are aware, on a renewable energy activation project. That sort of data will inform the REAP project as well, and NRMA should be able to provide us with some information in terms of early usage.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Just on your earlier question, just about the SAP as well, I think it would be true to say that I was left with the impression that they're still leaving the door open for possibly a rebranded or reconfigured, etc., some kind of plan across the entire Shire. So that left me with a great deal of hope, and I think it's important that we kind of really, ensure that we don't miss out on the next round of projects for this particular Shire.
That's exactly right, Mr Mayor, and it is encouraging that they are still leaving the door open for some form of discussions, and really, as councillors, to move this Shire forward, we need to assist and cooperate in every way that we can.
100%. It's a very, very important thing, and that's just something that we should never forget. We've got to talk the Shire up. We should never be talking it down. So thank you very much, Councillor Redding. Really appreciate that. Are there any other comments or concerns, etc.? I might move that mayoral minute if that's appropriate. Everyone, all those in favour, all those against. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll now move on to item 13.1, which is the delegate report, the minutes of the Laird Forest Environmental Trust Incorporated meeting which was held on the 26th of October 23. I will just call upon Councillor Redding. Would you like to speak to that? Move that motion. Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder on that? Anyone? Seconder for that motion? Councillor Browning, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, look, I really don't think there's much need for me to speak to it.
No
There
worries.
was one application to beautify Rotary Park in Boggabri with an irrigation system, which we all felt as members that was important. So hopefully we can move forward and allocate some funds towards that.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We'll put that motion. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We then now move on to delegate item 13.2, which is on page 39, which is the delegate report, the draft minutes of the Tarrawonga Coal Community Consultative Committee meeting, which was held on the 25th of October 23. That's me, I'm the responsible officer. I'll move that. Do I have a seconder on that, please? Councillor Browning, thank you very much. You might need to take your. Did you want to speak to that, Councillor Redding? You've got your microphone on. So, anyone want to speak to that? I'll put that to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Item 13.3, which is the delegate report, the Laird's Forest Precinct Environmental Trust AGM, held on the 26th of October 23. Councillor Redding was at that. Would you like to move that as a motion?
Happy to move that.
Do I have a seconder on that, anyone? Councillor Dickinson, thank you very much for that. Would you like to speak to your motion? Put that to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.4, Resolutions Register, October to November 23. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Richardson, thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Dickinson. The motion is here that Council receive and note the outstanding resolution register as at 20 November 23, that Council receives and notes the completed resolution register as at 20 November 23. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Richardson?
No, I'm quite happy with what's presented there.
Any other speakers for or against that motion, etc.? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Item 13.5, Infrastructure Delivery Status Report, October 23. The recommendation here is that Council receive and note the Infrastructure Delivery Status Report for October 2023. I might call upon the Director, just through the General Manager, just to briefly give us a top line on this for us. Thank you very much, Director.
Through the General Manager and the Chair. The report details what's happened in the last month and the plan for the next month. Of note, we've been having issues, funnily enough, with the dry weather and grading. We actually need some moisture to grade effectively. So the team are actually catching up now on a few roads where we've got a bit more moisture because of the recent rain.
So the rain's a good thing, is it? So hopefully not too much, everyone. Any other comments, concerns, etc.? Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, sorry, we need to move the motion. Do I have a mover of the motion?
Have we moved this motion yet?
Oh, would you like to just ask a question then? Yep.
No, I'm happy to move the motion.
Okay, move the motion.
And then I'll
Councillor Bowen, seconder. Councillor Richardson, thank you. Councillor Bowen, would you like to
thank
move
you,
that?
Mayor, again. I've got A couple of questions with, in relation to how you develop this, this report on a regular basis. There would appear to be some historical work going a long way back that my understanding from previous councillors has been funded and never done, never achieved, it's just fallen off the radar. Is there a mechanism that when you're looking back through the infrastructure delivery program that there might be a few things lurking under cupboards that we haven't actually looked at? And I'm going to give certainly one example of that is Browns Road, which was resolved about 7 or 8 years ago to actually then seal in front of all of the houses along Browns Road out at Harper area. And that hasn't, my understanding from that time, it was actually funded, or their assurance was the funds were there. Now, whether it was or whether it wasn't, totally not known. But I'm interested to know then those sorts of projects where they've completely fallen off the program and they're not actually listed anywhere in the works that I can see. I might be missing things. Is there a way that we can look back through all of that material just to be sure that there's not stuff that we had funded, money sitting in work in progress, never happening?
Thank you very much, Councillor Baum. So this is exactly the kind of question that should definitely be put to directors well and truly in advance of a council meeting, so that our directors and our general manager have plenty of time to do the research. So I would assume that you would take that as a question on notice. Yep. No worries. Thank you very much.
There, I was really pointing out about the mechanism. I wasn't really, I mean, I was just using that Browns Road as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't actually asking for a resolution or direct information about that. I'd certainly welcome it. But, you know, is there ways that we can actually look back through the work in progress and say, hang on a second, what happened to that?
Yep.
That can didn't even get kicked down the road. It's sitting in the bottom drawer somewhere and it's not actually getting activated. So,
Thank you, Councillor.
I mean, these are questions that I do receive from time to time, and it relates to the fact, well, why doesn't... And those sort of questions come from the community thinking, you know, this council doesn't seem to get anything done. And it's all related to one thing that they're thinking about. It's not necessarily true across the board, but, you know, it's these small details that make the big picture.
Thank you, Councillor Baum. I will call upon the Director just to speak briefly to this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can provide a general statement. All councillor resolutions, you will see them in the report which was just presented to council in the resolution register. They are not completed until they are done. So if it was a resolution, it would have been reported to council. And the other thing which may be in that case is VPAs. So council has VPAs, and you'll see in the annual report, which is another report coming up to council, there's a list of VPAs and money that's remaining and what that's allocated to. Otherwise, nothing falls through the cracks. As you said, it's captured either in the resolution register on that VPA section, and each year the operational plan and delivery plan are adopted. But in terms of money being sitting there, it's either in a VPA somewhere, more than likely, is a general statement, and that's captured in the annual report, which is in another report today.
Thank you very much, Director. Any other councillors' comments? Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, just understanding the dry weather caused some havoc with getting graders done, and appreciate your recent feedback on the wet weather's helped us get some gravel roads graded. I just want to take note on the $6,000 it's cost council for vandalism. This is one example why the working group to do a PCYC is needed. So I commend council that we've started that initiation. At the Crime Prevention conference I attended last week, the two main themes were prevention and intervention before it occurs. So I just want to show that $6,000 is ratepayers' money, and that's in 1 month. So highlighting that in our community, you see it, report it, try to prevent it before it happens.
I think it's an exceptionally good point, and it's something that it's quite interesting. The police often say to us that they're not psychic. They're not on Facebook all the time. So if you do see a problem in the community, report it to 000. So thank you very much, Councillor Richardson. Appreciate that. Any other comments? Councillor Reddy?
Yeah, just Probably a question to our Director of Infrastructure. I noticed on the road maintenance, during October and again in November, we have Goombri Road in both months. And I believe it's still not completed. Can you just tell us what were the works going on along Goombri Road that it's taking so long?
To the director via the general manager. Thank you very much, Councillor Reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. Going by way, we graded the road during both months, and this is what I was speaking about on the drier conditions. We actually have to truck water in that location. It takes some time to get water to that site, so it extends the job quite significantly. So the job was completed on both months, and I believe they're still completing it at the moment. Hence why we've got 4 extra contract graders working this week when the weather is nice to us a bit more, to make the most of that. Carting water in some areas takes quite some time to get it there.
Yeah. So it was just general maintenance grading of the road, not upgrading it or anything like that.
Thank you very much, Director. Thank you very much, Councillor Reading. Any other comments, concerns, questions? Speakers for or against? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much for that. We now move on to item 13.6, which is the Planning and Development Report, August 23, page 67. I'd like to call upon our Planning Director via the General Manager just to briefly speak through her report.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the General Manager, reports as read, as councillors can see, continual decrease in processing times despite a very busy month of 18 DAs, and this month will be equally as busy coming up to Christmas. So the staff are very committed to processing those applications efficiently and effectively.
Thank you very much, Director. Before we move into it being a motion, do we have any questions of the Director at all? Councillor Reading, would you have a question for the Director?
Yeah, just quickly. I noticed that in here, just reading through, you're still having issues with the planning portal.
Yes, Councillor Reading, the whole state's having issues with the planning portal, and possibly the world is having issues with the New South Wales planning portal.
So there's obviously no fix in sight.
Not that we're aware of, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Reading. Good. I will. Do I have a move? Councillor Baum, would you like to? You got a question?
Having gone to the local government conference last week, it was pretty noted in a lot of comments there, and just to back up Director there about, it seems like the whole world is having problems with this portal. I mean, what is there some form of resolution to this coming up, or is there? Do ministers, you people you've had discussions now with government ministers and the local member and so on. Did you find that they're fully aware of this, of the dilemma? It's not really a dilemma. It's an own goal, I think, really is what this is. Is there any resolution from this government about how that might change? I certainly heard nothing at the conference last week.
Could I possibly ask the Planning Director to explain for everyone or viewers, etc., what the planning portal is? Explain what it is, who runs it, what it's used for.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the General Manager, the New South Wales planning portal was introduced with a primary objective of being a simplified, centralised system. Unfortunately, it's turned out to be just not that. It's incredibly complex and clunky, and even professional developers and technical professionals are having trouble navigating the centralised system, which is run by the New South Wales State Government. Unfortunately, councils didn't have a choice. They were mandated in implementing and signing up to the portal with very little assistance and financial support. So I completely concur with Councillor Bowen's observations that this is a really big own goal in terms of trying to move the program forward in a reasonable fashion. It's probably gone too far down the path, and it's to the point of no return. We certainly haven't received any indication or information from the government in terms of how to resolve the current problems, which is plagued also by staff shortages. So as soon as we do hear information that's firm from the department or the government, that will pass on to councillors. But I'd certainly welcome a notice of motion in relation to ongoing advocacy on the concerns with the application of the portal.
Thank you very much, Director. Very much appreciate that. Any other comments, concerns, etc.? Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Bowen, Councillor Dickinson. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Bowen?
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I do appreciate the general, well, not just the observations, but just the general nature of exactly what goes on. It's good to hear that from all of us about how that system works or doesn't work, and I can assure the council that it's not only this shire that seems to have the issues. A few others that I am involved with equally challenged, and whether it's large developments or smaller ones, they seem to have the problem. And what really concerns me most is that once we're now getting into a whole new phase of national development, I guess, that relates around new industries in renewable energy, and I fear this is where the whole thing is going to come to a grinding halt. And whatever we can do within our own organisation to effectively resource it and to look into that future strategically, then we're going to get caught up just as much as everyone else. And I really would hope that all of our council can get behind whatever changes we do need to institute locally, and to create the resources and particularly the human capacity needed to make planning the central part of our success story is really important.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowen. I might just call upon the General Manager just to make a brief comment about some comments that were put to the Premier and some comments that he made in response to this. I might call it General Manager.
Yeah, through the Chair, we were fortunate enough, the Mayor and myself, to attend the Country Mayors Association annual general meeting in Sydney last Friday, where we were very fortunate to have Chris Minns, the Premier for New South Wales, speaking. He was a very capable speaker, and he was certainly left in no uncertain doubt by the Country Mayors Association as to the situation that we face with this planning portal, and the message was very strongly delivered that it needs to be fixed. And to his credit, Premier Minns didn't shy away from that. He acknowledged that it is an issue, and he acknowledged that it does need to be examined and fixed. So for the good of the state, this has to be something that is focused on.
Thank you very much. Councillor Redding.
Yeah, I'm just going on from the comments from our director. I'm just wondering if we could, with the approval of the mover and seconder, have a point 2 that Narrabri Shire Council continues to advocate to whoever is responsible for this portal in our disappointment in it. To be honest, when the portal first came in, it was this U-Butte, we're going to fix all these problems. Everyone, all the community are going to be able to go straight to this portal, do all their work, happy days.
Yep.
Certainly hasn't been that.
It's broken, isn't it? Yep.
I believe that we do need to continue to advocate to these ministers or planning to try and get some sort of workable planning portal that the community can use. But I will leave it up to the
Thank you.
mover and the seconder if they wish to add that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Redding. To that end, do we want to make an amendment, or do we want to do we want to not move an amendment motion, but do you want to change your motion just to add a point 2? Donna, our Director of Planning has written something to that effect.
Well, Mayor, it's probably your determination as to whether we do an amendment or whether we just provide that. I think we probably need to move an amendment to make it.
No, you're the mover, so you won't need to move an amendment. If you would like to append a point 2.
I would be, with your approval, then I'd be quite happy to append that with the suggestion from Councillor Redding.
Yep.
And while I'm up and standing on feet, this is really, as the General Manager pointed out, if I can make a point about that, the state is actually missing out really big there. So I can reveal at a very broad scale that the project that I was involved with in a place not that far from here, not this Shire, an exceptionally large development, certainly a $2 billion development that was to take place. Just hang on a minute. And that project went to Queensland simply because of the difficulty of getting a project like that through New South Wales generally, right? So I'm not making any other accusation, but I support the General Manager. This is actually really critical part of our competitive framework.
You've spoken to the motion already. What we will do is we'll just make the amendment on point 2, and then you'll get a chance to kind of circle back and make a comment in a minute. So the general point for number 2 that our Director of Planning has kindly assisted us with is that Narrabri Shire Council continue to advocate to the New South Wales government, expressing its concerns regarding the ongoing efficacy of the New South Wales planning portal and potential inhibition of development in this state. Yeah, which is great. Yeah, no worries. So it's going to be sent through to the wonderful team over there. It'll pop up on the screen in just a moment. Yes, it's like magic. Just read it out again. Okay. It is that Narrabri Shire Council continue to advocate to the New South Wales Government, expressing its concerns regarding the ongoing efficacy of the New South Wales planning portal and the potential inhibition of development in this state. Councillor Richardson should be invited back in, by the way. Sorry. Oh, actually, sorry, Councillor Richardson. You shouldn't be, we still haven't finished this item, sorry, the planning item. It's my mistake. Yep, we are still on 13.6. I'm very sorry. It's just, our apologies won't be long. All right. Excellent. Councillor Balmy, happy with the that change to the resolution, the motion? I think it's excellent. I think it's excellent. Any other comments for or against this motion? Sorry. The our legal counsel has made a comment about the phrase "continue to advocate." If we could take that out, yes. How do you measure success? Which is a great point. Thank you very much. Do I have any other comments or concerns? Everyone happy with that that wording? You're happy? The seconder is happy? Any other comments for or against? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Could you please? Thank you. Thanks for that. Welcome back. So item 13.7, which is correspondence from the Honourable Paul Scully MP around the National Housing Accord. I will just call on the General Manager, the Director of Planning through the General Manager to speak to this item, please.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, through the General Manager. As the Mayor indicated, we're in receipt of correspondence from the Honourable Paul Scully regarding the current housing crisis. The Minister requested that this correspondence be tabled at Council meeting, which we have done. I'm acknowledging the work that Council's done in representations and discussions and our ongoing work with the Department of Planning for rezoning of lands, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the floor before we turn this into a motion? Councillor, you can ask if you've got a question. You can ask a question of the Director or the General Manager, or you can move that as a motion if you would like to. Okay, we'll move it as a formal motion. The mover of that motion is who? Councillor Bowen, seconder. Councillor Richardson. Move into formal meeting. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. I felt that our response was it shouldn't be completely equivocal, because I don't know that we've actually thought that one through in any a level of completeness that I would suggest. So the Minister has written a very clear purpose that they are looking to do this. They are looking to find opportunities for housing, and I really think that we could be using this motion to also strongly advocate for direct support for our own housing development in the Caputar development. And that was my thought. I would take maybe some direction about that as to whether we should, in fact, not just note or receive and note, because to me that's a fairly benign way to take a note, something from the Minister. I'd much rather put something a little bit more positive behind it and say yes. And at the same token, I think we need to get the government now to support our own opportunities for housing development. That's essentially what I'm trying to put as a mover of this motion, to either add a second part or to, in that first part, to request that we actually turn that into a little bit more than just receive a note, and we actually turn it into a positive outcome that we're seeking.
You're the mover of the motion, so you can make an amendment.
Well,
you can do that. You don't have to accept the recommendation as carried. You can add that if you wish.
Well, I would then move an additional part to this motion, point 2, that Council respond to the Minister, noting that our Shire's own development for housing is well underway, and that we would directly seek support for the Caputar precinct.
Councillor.
Direct support for the Caputar precinct, if that's the correct terminology, Director. I'm not sure, but if you're happy with that.
If it would assist the councillor, the Director has started assisting. Would you like me to read something out and see whether that's a good starting point for you?
Yes, thank you.
We'll continue this. Council formally corresponds with the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment, New South Wales DPE, advising of its commitment to assist in resolving the current housing crisis, in particular for the rezoning of lands known as the Caputar precinct for future residential purposes. What do you think of that? And we do much more. Thank you. So it'll be sent. I'll read it. Can I read it out again? The council formally corresponds with the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment, in brackets, New South Wales DPE, NSWDPE, advising of its commitment to assist in resolving the current housing crisis, comma, in particular for the rezoning of lands known as the Caputar precinct for future residential purposes. Okay. Future residential purposes. Excellent. So who's moving this? Councillor Bowen, you're moving this? You need a seconder for that? Is it the seconder? We do. Got a seconder, which is fine. Okay, you're happy with that? You're happy with that? Councillor Richardson, would you like to just stand up and make a comment for a second? Oh, sorry, Councillor. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just a bit unfamiliar. I couldn't see a reply that you referred to in the start of your speech, Councillor Bowen, so I was confused if I'd missed something, but I still couldn't find a response that you referred to. I'm worried that having the particular rezoning known as Caputar precinct in it limits us somewhat because there are other opportunities. I would definitely support, formally corresponds with New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment, and what our director said, like advising of our commitment to assist in resolving the housing crisis. I'd just prefer to keep out particular precincts from that. I don't want to limit us in our growth potential.
Interesting comment. Councillor Bowen?
Look, I support that thought, really, in bringing that up, because we do have other villages and townships where this sort of development, or other developments, could very readily take place. Certainly, Boggabra's got plenty of opportunity for additional rezoning and additional housing land, as probably does Weewar. So perhaps we use that, but also rather than to knock that out altogether, Mayor, is to say and
including
in our other villages of the Shire. And within the Shire. But I think, councillor, the Caputar precinct is something I think needs to be elevated pretty significantly because it's a very definite thing. And in response to, and I think it's a very good thing that the Minister of Planning has actually put this in because it gives us an opportunity to directly respond in the way that we, in a very positive sort of way that we really need to do. And I don't discount that.
Okay.
That Boggabri and in fact all of the townships have opportunities for additional housing development.
Thank you, Councillor Mullen. Thank you. Councillor Redding.
Maybe question more than anything, statement. Through the Mayor to the Director of Planning, you were saying that the department wants to meet with councillors coming up early in the new year. So obviously I'm thinking what the department, now they're talking about housing and just not so much the SAP, but just housing development. And obviously housing development has got a lot to do with the rezoning. So is this where they say that they are going to assist us in fast streaming, rezoning of land around that we identify as housing precincts?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the General Manager, yes, fast tracking and provision of technical support is what the staff are expecting as a key deliverable through that state-led rezoning process. So the staff will work closely with the department to try and have the rezoning expedited as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much for that. Any other comments, questions? Are you, I'm just speaking to the mover, are you happy with the change to this?
Yeah, look, I'm quite comfortable with those changes there, and I thank Councillor Richardson for her thoughts as to how we can improve that further.
Yep. Excellent. Any other comments for or against this particular motion? Okay, I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Councillors. I now move on to item 13.8, which is the organisational submission, inquiry into the performance of the Regional Investment Activation Fund and the Regional Job Creation Fund. I will call upon the Planning Director through the General Manager just to briefly give us the top line on this.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through the General Manager again, it's a draft organisational submission's been prepared for Council's consideration that responds to the current terms of reference in the inquiry into the RJCF and the RIAF. It's tabled for further consideration and comment.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions for the Director before we move into turning it into a formal motion? Any other questions? No? Do I have a mover on that motion? Councillor Redding. Seconder? Councillor Browning, thank you. Councillor Redding, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I understand that this is just a draft, but certainly looks as if our staff have covered a large area in this draft, and I'm happy with it.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillors, do we have any other comments for or against this motion? Any other comments? There being no further comments, I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. We move on to item 13.9, which is the investment report for the month of October 2023. The recommendation here is that Council notes the investment report for October 2023. I will, do I have a mover of this motion? Anyone? Mover? Councillor Redding, Councillor Dickinson? Thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion, councillor? Any other council?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other council? Any comments from councillors? There being no comments or questions, I will just put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. I'll move on to item 13.10, which is acceptance of tenders under delegation for October 2023. That council note the determination of tenders under delegation for the period to October 2023. You'd like to move that? Thank you very much, Councillor Redding. Second it. Would you like to speak to your motion?
No, that's fine. There's been no activity during that month.
No worries.
I'm just wondering if the expedience of meetings and things like that this report only comes when there is one to council, rather than worry about reporting that there isn't one a lot of the time. Would that be a lot better idea?
I might actually hand that to our director through the general manager. I might just ask legal counsel on that one.
Through the mayor, I would say that it would be a prudent and sensible thing to do.
It has to be quarterly.
It has to be done quarterly.
But not a month.
So legislatively, we have to do it quarterly rather than monthly.
So that sounds good. Good suggestion. Thank you, councillor. Okay, so I'll just put it to the floor.
I just had a little.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Bowen.
Councillor Dickinson, I think one of the reasons why we don't get much in this little space is because we have a delegation authority of $1.5 million. And I, for one, don't particularly like that notion terribly well. I mean, I know that we like to see what's going on. When we get a nil report, it means that everything's under $1.5 million. It doesn't actually give us any transparency to actually what's going on. And not that we want to make the world a harder place for the general manager, but
I'd just stop you there, councillor. That's actually incorrect.
Take your seat. Take your seat, councillor, just for the moment.
I'll go ahead.
Just to the general manager.
The director would like to inform what the correct.
So through the general manager and the chair, this report is for the general manager has a delegation of anything under 1.5. So this report comes when something's been signed off between $250,000 and $1.5 million. Everything above that comes to here. Everything below 250 is business as usual with handled under our delegation. The way it was worded is if it was above 1.5. So I just want to clarify that this report is only for between 250 and $1.5 million.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any other comments, concerns, etc.?
Through the chair, what I would also add to that is that there is now the weekly councillors' weekly update, but prior to that, the infrastructure manager, director, has always put information in terms of what works have been happening out to elected members every week, and that has been wrapped into this report every month. So there is certainly no lack of transparency in terms of the works that we're doing.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Any other comments, concerns? I'll put it to the... Sorry? No? No.
No, the flood report was part of the planning and sustainability update. Yeah.
At the moment, we are looking at we're looking at item
13, sorry.
13.1, 13.10, which is acceptance of tenders under delegation. There's nothing declared there. Yeah. Okay. we'll note that and hopefully.
I
Councillor
I
Redden?
think the General Manager answered that question. It was part of the
Planning and sustainability.
yeah, it was part of the Planning and Sustainability report. It wasn't a separate
It wasn't a separate
report.
Yep, no worries. So I'm just going to put this to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to item 1311, which is monthly financial report, October 23. The CFO is not here in the meeting today, but I'll call upon the General Manager just to briefly give us a top line on this item.
Through the chair, we'll take the item as read. It's pretty straightforward, the explanation in the report. We do have the financial manager in the room if we do have any detailed questions that require Luke's input. But everything is sort of tracking. What the report is actually reflecting is that we're hiring a lot more people at the moment, which is a wonderful thing. We've been running at a vacancy allowance of around 25% over the last few years because we just couldn't fill positions. But more recent times, in the last sort of 3 or 4 months, we've started managing to fill some positions, and the finances are reflecting the fact that we've got more staff on board doing more work, which is wonderful. Obviously, it impacts on the financials, but we'll sort of have another good close look at that through Q3 in terms of what the end result will be. But that's a positive news story in terms of now running a vacancy number of around 15% would be my estimate at this point in time. So we've made significant progress in terms of getting our teams well resourced and up to speed.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Do I have a mover for this? Oh, Councillor
I'm
Mullen.
happy to move it.
Sorry?
I'm happy to move it.
Okay, Councillor Mullen, you move it. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Richardson, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I would, thank you, Mayor. I guess thank you for the greater level of detail, and it's pretty clear that there is significantly improved and greater detail in this report. But given the very long-term nature of repair and maintenance that's going on in addressing previous times, I'm wondering if the General Manager could speak to what way of reporting, what type of reporting do you propose that would then give us and certainly give the community some additional level of security that the previous issues and difficulties related to our ability to report effectively to the level of the Auditor General's needs. Is there a way that we can report to that on a regular basis that is just designed to say, well, this is the progress that we're gradually making into what the Auditor General had previously made as conditional comments related to the last financials?
Yes, sorry. I think that's possibly a different issue to this financial report here, and as was reported at the last council meeting, well, there is an update coming to the December council meeting with regards to the audit status and the progress with regards to that audit, and also there will be a report to the December ARIC committee with regards to that, but that's not in relation to this financial report, which is a monthly financial report that provides council with the position that we're at the moment, which council was never presented with up until July this year. So that's progress in my book, that we're providing information to council that it never previously had. With regards to any further detail that staff could provide to councillors, I would point councillors towards the IPR reports that we do. The way that councillors can get a firmer or a more confidence in terms of the performance of the organisation is to focus on that IP&R document in terms of the comments that are made in relation to the projects that we do, particularly through the operational plans and those things. It's to make sure that we're reporting realistic things, achievable things, and we're setting those targets right at the beginning of the year rather than setting what are sometimes quite vague operational goals at the beginning of the year, and we don't really report on them well because they're too vague at the start of the year. So that's where my focus has been for the organisation, is to try and improve the way we populate our operational plans, our delivery plans, and therefore the IP&R reports that come out subsequent to those.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Do I have any other comments or concerns, questions from councillors regarding this motion? I put it to council. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We move on to item 13.12, which is the draft data breach policy. The recommendation here is that the council adopt the draft data breach policy attached to this report, that the General Manager or their delegate be authorised to make any administrative changes required to publish this policy, provided no content changes. I might call upon the Director to speak to this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the General Manager. So this is a policy that has been developed in response to a requirement arising from an amendment to the PPIPA Act. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one. Essentially, all public agencies are required to have a data breach policy in place by today. That policy, in essence, simply just has to deal with how an agency will respond to a breach. So we envisage this as, I suppose, the first in a framework of policies around information security and around data security that I anticipate when the new manager of customer information services comes on board once they're recruited, one of their initial projects will be to develop the rest of this framework in a robust way, so that we're not just, as we're doing with this policy, responding to breaches, we're also taking proactive and active steps to prevent breaches and to secure our information. But in essence, this policy deals with all information breaches, but particularly information breaches of personal information and health information. It was based, in essence, on other councils' policies or their draft policies, and it was also based on the policies of other public agencies outside the local government area, so that we weren't just looking at it from the local government lens, but looking at best practice across the public sector.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just note also in that those of you who have read through this data breach policy will note that it refers to city. What we mean by there is Shire Council, and that we've used obviously the team haven't reinvented the wheel. They have used best practice. So if you could just that's just an element there. It should say, instead of city, it should say Shire Council. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Richardson, Councillor Redding, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to this motion, Councillor Redding? Councillor Richardson.
Yes, I would like to. Again, referring to the Crime Prevention Conference held last week, we had two guest speakers, Stuart Staunton from Cyber Security New South Wales, Professor Neil Curtis from DXC Technology, leaders in their fields in our country. Both speak about no one is immune from a cyber attack. I commend Council for being realistic in this and focusing on what we do. And again, not a matter of if, but when a cyber attack occurs, how do we learn from it? What strategies are in place to reporting it? One of the key features or concerns about members attending the conference was, as a collective, how do we gather that information? Because no company wants to put their hand up and be honest and say, I've had a cyber attack, because the shame that comes on that company. We've seen it with other organisations in Australia. I think it's very important. We need to be proactive. And if we do have an attack, be honest and open about it. So not just ourselves, but New South Wales, the Australian Empire can actually learn from it as well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor, through you to the General Manager. I just wanted to get a couple of comments, or I have a couple of questions, I guess, that I'd like a little bit more clarity about. One is that that Councillor Richardson talked about was the communication of it. I think she alluded to that. And if I can make my observation that where these things go wrong is always communication to begin with. And I don't see enough in here that gives me clarity that there would be a really clear focus on that as part of the response, because I can see within here there's a lot of steps and a lot of different things, but communication to me is where you begin with this process. And if I could get the General Manager to provide some guidance as to how that occurs. And then I was just looking here, and I think that's part of where we've missed some of the steps. In item 6 in triage to me seems to be what you do first. So what we haven't done first is we haven't created a communications policy to do that. And then secondly, we've provided some support for the person who actually identifies the breach. But I'm really concerned that you would say you would appoint somebody. That's rule number 1, is just to say, oh, we'll appoint somebody. Well, no, it needs to be much more specific than that. I think if you're going to, there needs to be a process of who you appoint, why and when, and how that works. So that's the only part. Look, I could have spent a lot more time reading this, but there were the bits that jumped out to me. One is we don't have a really effective process articulated about exactly how that communication framework is established. And secondly, then in the notion of how do you appoint people to do different roles, I think that's a bit light on. I think I'd like to see a little bit more clarity about how you appoint somebody to do something else. And that's all I had.
Just call upon, once again, this is a classic example of when, when we're reading our council documents, it's important that we foreshadow some of these questions and provide that for the General Manager and the directors so that they can prepare a thorough answer to this. But I will hand it to the General Manager for a comment.
Well, point of order. Mayor, we've got many hundreds of pages of material to read through and to get our minds around in just a matter of a few days. I think it's a bit unfair for us then or unfair for you then to put to us, and I reject that idea.
Sorry, sit down, Councillor.
I reject that idea.
No, sit down, Councillor. Your point of order is overruled. It is clearly in our meeting procedure policy that before every meeting that we basically send directors and also the GM questions or concerns. I've done it many times before where you literally just shoot. You might be in the middle of something, you go, what does this mean? And you just shoot it. You send a text message or you send an email. It just means that, it just means that our directors are able to get all their ducks in a row and make sure that they're actually able to answer these questions. But I'll just put it to the General Manager to speak to.
Look, I'll do my best to give an answer here. The objective of the to appoint somebody statement within that policy is that at the time you don't know who you have in the building, you don't know who you have in the Shire. So appoint somebody relates to appointing the best person that you have available at the time within the Shire that is able to do something about it. And it's the same as when we run our crisis management process. This would sit alongside our crisis management response. So therefore the communication side of things, we would have a whole plethora of people available to us in crisis management, which this would be a part of, that would start to talk about the communications alongside the planning and intel, alongside the logistics, which is based around the AIMS system of response to crises. So that this is just a part of a whole jigsaw or a whole suite of responses that we implement when we have particular crises. And the data breach policy relates to purely the data breach stuff, but it's not in isolation of a crisis management response.
Thank you very much for that, General Manager. Do I have any other comments, concerns, questions, etc.? Councillor Richardson, would you like to close off or say anything further?
No, thank you. I'm happy to put it to a vote.
Okay, I'll put this to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We head straight into 1313, which is quarterly budget review statement, September 2023. I'll just ask the General Manager to comment, and then he'll hand over to, if there's anything further, to Luke Meppin, and we appreciate his time here today.
Yeah, through the chair, we'll take the item as read. There's an extensive amount of work been put into the quarterly review. It's quarter 1, so it's early days in this financial year, and I hope that we get far more detailed as we go into quarter 2. Yes, I'm also optimistic that we'll have a far better handle on projects and programs in terms of where their status is, in terms of go, no-go types of options with projects and programs. So we'll take it as read. If there's any detailed questions, I've brought Luke into the room today so that Luke has the opportunity to answer in Ted's absence.
Do I have any questions of the General Manager or Luke at any stage? Any questions at all? Do I have a mover of this motion? Councillor Redding, Councillor Bowen, thank you. The recommendation or the motion here is that Council adopt the quarterly budget review statement for the period ending 30 September 23 as the revised budget estimates for the year ending 30 June 2024 and the operational plan and capital works plan to be amended accordingly. Councillor Redding, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, it's all set out here. And as the General Manager stated, we do have an increase in employee costs, which is good to see a good team being built within Council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Redding. Do I have any other comments? Any speakers for or against?
Thank you, Mayor. Look, there's a lot of stuff in here I'd really like to get into, I guess, and I don't get much, I don't feel there's a lot of appetite for that at the moment. There's a lot of detail. I guess, is that a reasonable expectation that we might be able to send some notes into the Director while he's here, and we can go through them line by line? Is that
Yes,
I would, a reasonable expectation?
I think that's an excellent. And what typically the directors will do in a situation like that, they will basically send a response, usually to all of us as councillors, just to keep us all in the loop. But it's a great suggestion. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Bowen. Do I have any other comments for or against this motion? I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Move to item 1314, which is the operational and service plan quarterly report, 1st of July 23 to 30th of September 23. That's on page 129. Would you like to speak to that at all in any way? General Manager?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll just sort of have a quick sort of introducing the report. So yeah, quarter 1, as I just mentioned, the last few reports they're all intertwined effectively. So this is where we're reporting on our quarterly performance as opposed to any of the financials associated with it. If we look at the report from a cursory glance, it looks as though we're doing incredibly well. Everything's 73% on track, and we've only got 4% of issues within the operational delivery. Again, quarter 1, people are very reticent to say we may not deliver something because they still are very optimistic that we may not. I'm expecting that 4% to change as we go into quarter 2 because come early January we're going to be working very directly with our project managers to very clearly ascertain where projects are struggling to be delivered, and so therefore I think that's where the rubber will really hit the road in terms of this operational plan reporting, that we'll really start to see some projects that may not be delivered. So again, I remain very optimistic because our delivery so far, particularly in the roading space, has been very positive. We've got an awful lot of work done. But I do know, and the directors are right alongside me in knowing that there are some other areas where we have slipped, and that's due to resource, it's due to being able to get things out to market in a timely fashion or even to get responses. One example would be we had a contractor in the infrastructure space that won a contract process, but then they lost their concreters and therefore they had to withdraw from the contract before it was signed. And so we're still facing those ripples, and therefore I think Q1, it looks all very optimistic, and we remain optimistic that we will perform better than last year. But again, I think Q2, so we'll find at the February meeting. Is it February meeting when we report Q2? Yeah, at the February meeting, I think, is when the Q2 report will come through. I think that will be a far more obvious indicator as to where we're going to end up at the end of the year.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Do I have a Councillor Mullen? Would you like to move the motion, do you? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a seconder of that motion? Might have been Councillor Reading, I think. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Mullen?
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the General Manager's reflection on that process. If I could, through you, then over the next, is it possible then for you, General Manager, to reflect on the number of statements you've made over recent months, many recent months, about the fact that you're trying to establish some level of authority and responsibility on the individuals, and what degree would you assign some of the better progress that you're talking about with this cultural shift that you're trying to implement? It's one of the positives that I see in your leadership, and I really think it's probably a good opportunity for you to articulate this even more so if you feel that this is beginning to take effect in an operational sense and the capacity to deliver on programs.
General Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Look, I very rarely want to take any kudos from a process which is basically just empowering our staff to make their own decisions and encouraging them to do so in a no-blame sort of environment. So, we're not going to be perfect, and we're always going to be upfront and as honest as we can. So in that environment, yes, I do create that environment for people in which to work, and it is reflecting in some good performance outcomes. But I'm not going to put the cart before the horse this year because I haven't seen the Q2 results yet. I think that's the point I was alluding to, is I think we will see some positive change from last year. I know that the team, the project managers and the senior managers that we're working with in the organisation, they feel a lot better about the world that they're operating in right now, and that is down to the whole organisation supporting each other rather than sort of what I entered a few months ago, or that's 15 months ago now. But again, I don't think that's necessarily just certainly not just me. It's actually the whole senior team, but also the level of management below us that are really grasping the ability to feel empowered and make decisions and get things done. So I'm optimistic.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Call upon Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. Just on what you were talking about before, General Manager, realistically in February we're going to have a better idea of where we sit for the financial year. Could we perhaps have a report come to the February briefing to have discussions about what issues we see? It's a bit hard to have that general discussion in the format of an OCM. I'm just timely that come March we're going to be focused on financials for the 23-24 year.
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, look, I think realistically we're probably looking at March to have that councillor session, interactive session about where we're at, where we're heading, because that's the time that we will really want to be prepared for the upcoming operational plan discussion as well, so that we can sort of hone in on how successful we have been and what we therefore will achieve the following year. So whilst we'll aim for February, I think realistically, just sort of Jason and I having a discussion there, I think it may be late February or early March when we get into that interactive discussion, but we'll certainly make it happen because it's one of the most important sessions that we need as we lead into the following operational plan. Last year we didn't really get the opportunity for that discussion. We only had sort of discussions quite late on in May, early June. For me, that, you know, for the team here, we feel as though that's too late, and we've already brought a few things forward from a management perspective to try and achieve that March deadline.
You've identified exactly the reason why to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor, General Manager and Councillor Richardson. Do I have any other comments for or against this motion? I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We've got the final item under this element, and that is the 2022-23 annual report. I might call upon the General Manager just to briefly give us the highlights of this.
Okay, again, sort of it's sort of linked to everything else, although this is more of a retrospective look to the year that's gone. Of course, it's the retrospective look to the year that's gone without the financials, because we won't be completing our financial audit until March 2024. So it's the year that's gone minus the financials. Last year we had an annual report with some draft financials, which were required to be amended slightly. So this time around we've decided we will leave the financials out and deal with them at the time. But this is the financial reporting element that we're required to get through council from a legislative perspective. And so it is what it is. It's a large document. But it's a pretty good look at what we did last year.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Do I have a mover on that on this motion, please? Councillor Bolam, Councillor Redding. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Bolam?
I don't really need to make a lot of comment about this. I just think I think we're all waiting for those reports from early next year. I think they're the ones that will be much more seminal in understanding exactly where we're going to sit and how we move forward. But in doing so, I just want to urge a little bit of caution that we don't present all of this information, all the opportunity for discussion and debate in briefing sessions, because I think that is I think the community really need to hear a lot more about this. It's very easy for us to squirrel all of these sort of broad discussions into a briefing session. Well, they're not open to the public, and I'm really quite cautious and quite concerned that we get to spend more and more time talking about the most important things in closed sessions. And I think that it's really important that the public totally have every opportunity to hear, see, and witness these things firsthand. So I just urge that bit of caution when we are moving forward.
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you, with your leave, Mr. Mayor. Thank you through the chair. Look, there's never any desire to keep things away from the public interface. We do need time with elected members to run through detail when we're preparing budgets or we're discussing details about operational performance. However, all of that stuff, all of those reports do get presented and will continue to get presented via council. The most important issue, obviously, as I referred to earlier, is our audit that we will be completing in March next year. We will be reporting on a quarterly basis back to council and AREC with regards to that audit progress and correcting the issues from the past. As I've mentioned before, we know what the issues are. We're working through to fix them, and they will be fixed. It just takes a bit of time. With regards to the annual report and the operational plan reporting, the IPNR reporting, that will always come back to council and be a very public-facing set of documents, and hopefully with good, robust debate around them, because it's important that the community not only sees the wealth of information that we produce, but also understands what that wealth of information means. Because even though, it's quite clearly out there, it's quite difficult to understand for many people at times.
Thank you very much, General Manager. Any other comments for or against this motion? I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We now move on to item 14.1, which is application for the concessional use of the Crossing Theatre. And that's from the Narrabri West Public School. We could, oh, it's all right, no, it's okay. I was thinking of I just put it to the motion here is that the council approves the concessional use rate of 50% to the Narrabri public school. You move it, seconder, thank you very much. Councillor Dickinson moving, seconding by Councillor Redding. No comment from the mover. Any other comments from council? I put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. I'll move to the next item, which is application for concessional use of the Crossing Theatre from the Country Education Foundation of the Namoy. Councillor Dickinson, Councillor Redding, seconded. Any comments for or against? I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to item 14.3, which is the second term Narrabri Shire Youth Council. We basically got that here that the council endorses the enclosed applications for candidates 1 through to 6 for the Narrabri Shire Council, Narrabri Shire Youth Council, second term 23 to 25. Do I have a mover? Or I'll give it to Councillor Richardson, Councillor Dickinson, seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Richardson?
Yes, I am. I think it's a great initiative our Shire has done. It's welcome to see the aptitude of applicants we've got. I think we need to rely on them and their constituents to show us what our Shire needs to look like in generations to come. I think they can also be useful in advocating for a PCYC, again, dropping that in. Talk about the issues that are affecting them. This generation have only known technology. They don't know a life of a black and white TV, a non-smart TV, life without a mobile phone. This is the only life they know, and I think they can shed a lot of light to us as adults in what they need for a sustainable future in our Shire.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors like to discuss this? Councillor.
Yeah, I'd like to endorse this, and it's great to see that the Youth Council's up and running. I congratulate them on their job so far, and I can't wait to see them participate in a council meeting here with us. Come and visit us. So I encourage them all to do that. Either way, they might come here first, then get scared off.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dickinson. Do I have any other comments on this item at all? No, I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Just just waiting on the next item for a moment. Just waiting for the General Manager for a moment. Won't be a moment. A sterling job. She works more than 9 to 5. Oh, here we go. We have a special guest speaker at our council meeting. I'd like to move that we have an honorary councillor, Councillor Parton. Doesn't sound right, does it? Excellent. Thank you very much, General Manager, but quite distracting. Thank you very much, General Manager. So this item is item 14.4, which is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program update. I'd just like to call upon I'd like to call upon the Director of Planning and Sustainability just to briefly just give us a top line on this for a moment.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, through the General Manager. I think we can all agree that this is an excellent literacy program. The staff just wanted to bring to your attention the fact that unfortunately the grant funding for the program expires in July next year. The team are working extremely hard in identifying potential alternative funding sources and partnering with other organisations. And council, if you're interested, might be wanting to have a briefing by United Way Australia, perhaps in early in the new year, on the successes and future directions of the Imagination Library program.
Excellent. Can I have a mover on this motion, please? Councillor Redding, I think that was, and then I think it might have been Councillor Boehm on that one, actually. I think Councillor Boehm got second on that. Councillor Redding, would you like to speak to this motion, please?
Absolutely. And I'm sure I don't have to tell everybody what a great initiative this Dolly Parton Imagination Library program is. Narrabri Shire was very fortunate a couple of years ago to receive this funding, to have this the Dolly Parton Imagination Library program run within our shire. We were one of very few in the northwest to actually receive this funding, and I think it's great that we're looking at it now of continuing it, because it is really, really important, and we all know the importance of getting books into the hands of young children early. It's imperative. I must say, when I informed the group at the State Library Conference that our General Manager actually had Dolly Parton in his office all the time, they were really impressed. So it is a reminder there all the time that we continue to need this program going forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Redding. Certainly, we're also very lucky to have such great libraries in our shire as well. So thank you. Great point, Councillor Boehm.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just want to support Councillor Redding's words on that. Early literacy is absolutely the foundation of good education outcomes, and this is one of the small things that we can do as a community that make a really big difference. And I think that we need to be strongly supportive of the things that make a big difference. And I really endorse this program.
Thank you very much. Do I have any other comments for or against this motion? Any other? I'd put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. I'd just like to thank guest Councillor Parton for attending. Thank you very much, General Manager, for facilitating her attendance at this meeting today. So thank you. She only works 9 to 5. What's that? Absolutely. We'll just adjourn for 1 minute to allow the guest councillor to be part of this. Adjourned at 50:54 for 1 minute. I think that's a great spot for I'm not sure that that was in the meeting procedure, so, but anyway, I think that's fine. We'll move on to the next item, which is item 14.5. We'll resume council meeting, of course. Item 14.5, which is Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee and new members. The recommendation here is that council endorses the appointment of applicant 1 and 2 to the Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee. Would you like to speak to that at all, Director?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through the General Manager, great to see that we've got ongoing interest from the community to participate in this important initiative, and the two new members of the committee are recommended for appointment.
Do I either move the motion, second the motion, third the motion? Thank you very much, councillors. So Councillor Reading is moving it, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Councillor, would you like to speak to this motion?
Just quickly, just to agree with the Director of Planning, it is great that we have two new applicants for this this committee. As we're probably all aware, we do struggle sometimes to get community members to our committees. So this is really important, and they're both excellent applicants who will bring a lot to the Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Do I have any other comments from other councillors? I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Do we have a regulatory compliance? We've got a matter under, got a regulatory compliance matter under 15.1, which is the regulatory compliance October report. The council receive and note the regulatory service report for October 23. I'll just put it to the Director of Planning just to briefly give us a top line on this.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a general overview of the group's activities, reports as read. The staff are coming along to your next briefing session, and we'll be able to answer any technical questions in relation to that operational area.
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Reading.
I think that's a wonderful idea, actually.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Reading. Seconder? Councillor Richardson. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor?
Not really. It's a very detailed report. I have read through it. My iPad's gone flat, and I must say, our points here do not suit my charger.
I'll take that as a comment.
Absolutely. But as far as the report goes, it's very comprehensive.
Thank you very much, Councillor Reading. Any other comments, concerns? I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. We're now moving into item 16.1, which is request for free entry to the Narrabri Shire pools as part of Australia Day 2024 festivities. So just that council receive and note the report for 2024 Australia Day activities and provides free entry to Narrabri Shire pools on the day, 26th of January 2024. Do I have a mover of that motion? Councillor Richardson, seconder. Councillor Reading, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor?
Just briefly, I think it is our Shire community residents an expectation that on Australia Day they get to splish splash in our pools. I would like to see that the Monster Islands are at all of our pools. I do note that it is requested at Boggabri. I think that's just a fun way for kids to express themselves, had a bit of laughter in our community. So yeah, if possible, all pools have Monster Island.
Thank you very much, councillor. Any other comments, concerns, questions, etc.? I'll put it to the floor. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We've got a final item before we move into this to confidential, and this is item 16.2, which is a request for the suspension of the alcohol-free zone for the tourist hotel. The recommendation here is that we suspend the alcohol-free zone on Maitland Street and Doyle Street within the proposed area in front of the in front of that. Should that read the tourist hotel instead of the Namoi Hotel for the period of 12 months starting 30 November 23 and ending 30th of November 24. The remaining section of Maitland Street and Doyle Street outside the fenced area will remain an alcohol-free zone, and that the council reserves the right to revoke the suspension of the alcohol-free zone. I'll get through the General Manager, could I get the Director just to speak to this item briefly?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through the General Manager, the report's as read. Apologies, it seems that we have fallen into the template trap, and there is a reference to the Namoi when it should be the tourist hotel. This proposal has been referred to the New South Wales Police Service, who raised no concerns in relation to the proposal. Staff are of the view that it will assist in the activation of that CBD area, but will be closely monitored from a compliance perspective.
Absolutely. Do I have any other questions, or do I have any questions or concerns? Councillor Bowen?
Yeah, look, I was just unable to find the genesis of where all this came from and for what purpose and what justification there would be to signal one hotel where there are other hotels within the CBD area. I would find this a bit awkward. I just would really like to know exactly why they're under what auspices. I couldn't find.
Thank you very much for that. I'll take that as a question. Through the General Manager to the Director.
Yeah, it was primarily in relation to the events that that are nearby to that particular premises, including the Narrabri event, the Christmas Carnival, and the like, and it will resolve the need for multiple applications over a relatively short period of time.
Sorry,
to the Director again, if I may. We're talking here about a period of 12 months. Not having it capable of being revoked for special events. Am I right or not right?
To the Director.
Yeah, so resolution reads, Council can, if there are issues with compliance, revoke the suspension of the alcohol-free zone at any time, but the duration of the approval would be for 12 months.
Do I have a mover on that motion at all? Councillor Redding. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Richardson. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Redding?
Yes, I would like to speak to this motion. I think it's not only interesting, but it's going to be interesting to see how sidewalk dining goes over the next 12 months. We have been pushing that for quite a while to try and get establishments to open up to do sidewalk dining. And I noticed that even though it will take up a certain amount of the footpath, there will still be at least 1.8 metres of pedestrian walkway in that. So I think this is going to be very interesting for the Shire and the Council to monitor this over the next 12 months, and we may even see a lot more coffee shops, different things like that, open up sidewalk dining, or even maybe extend their opening hours to weekends. I think it's a great start. for what we need in this shire and in this community.
Thank you, Councillor Redding. Do I have any other comments, concerns, for or against? Councillor Bohm.
You had your light on first, I thought. Thank you. Look, I'm not wholly supportive of the idea that we have a single premises in this process. So if our intention as a council is to encourage outdoor alfresco dining, alfresco activities, I believe it should be for any food or alcohol related premises within the CBD. I really do not support that you would do it just for the one business, because to me that would seem, I think the community would react quite negatively to this idea that one place alone has had this. I would much rather a better level of process get involved, that we actually take expressions of interest first, and then the second part of that then is we should then look at it to see what degree of interest there is. If we're going to make a decision as a council, I think we're missing steps A and B. I think we're at step C already. I'm not going to vote for this. I would really like to see a change, unless I'm missing something completely, and that's quite likely. I often get it totally wrong. But in this case, I just don't like the optics of one business being given that opportunity.
I'll thank you very much, Councillor. I'll hand it back to the Director through the General Manager for a comment.
No problem. Any business owner that operates a food and drink premises or a hotel like this establishment can lodge an application under the relevant legislation to address the alcohol-free zone requirements. So that is at the liberty of those particular business owners. Councillor Redding raised a good point in terms of the state government's push to revitalise business areas and promote outdoor dining initiatives, and there's been information recently released in that regard in relation to activation of our business areas. We also have a local approvals policy which enables a range of exemptions where there is no alcohol being served at premises. So there's certainly a fairly robust framework in place to consider these types of applications. Reminding Council that you recently considered an application for the Nammo Hotel for a similar purpose.
Just with the movers' permission, I'm just thinking the General Manager has made an interesting suggestion, which is perhaps we have an item 3, which is to encourage item 3, just to Councillor Bohm's point, that we encourage other businesses to apply for a similar suspension. I think that takes into account the spirit of what you were saying. If we can, are you happy with that? Yeah. So it would be item 3, encourage other businesses or other similar businesses to apply for a similar suspension. If you're happy with that, Councillor Redding, something of that nature?
Yes, anyone can apply.
Yep. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I just think I was going to highlight that this is an application. We don't go out and say you can have this, apply for it. It is that business who have come to us and said they want this. Can we do it or not? I am speaking for it. I think it creates a buzz in the community. We have cafes that have chairs and tables out the front, or like a breakfast bar style. It just adds that bit of buzz to our main street. Number 2 reserves the right to revoke the suspension. So if there is an event being held that won't permit alcohol on the street, we can take that away for a short amount of time. As Councillor Redding also stated, I was worried about this space they would have for pedestrian walkway. I asked my question to the Director and the response was it's 2.4 metres in total, 1.8 metres is for pedestrian walkway and 0.6 of a metre for the curb zone. As both Councillor Redding and myself sit on the Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee. That's something that we definitely wanted to make sure, you know, wheelchair, scooters, prams, all the above, shopping trolleys have that potential to easily float back and forth whilst people are enjoying their meal outside. So definitely for it, definitely encourage other businesses to apply if they wish, and it creates a buzz in all our villages, not just Narrabri itself. So we will Boggabri anywhere can apply for this.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I might just through the General Manager, just to the Planning Director as just a little point to make about the police power on this as well.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Good point. The New South Wales Police also have a range of powers to revoke the liquor licensing provision. So in the event that it does become a challenge for whatever reason, the police can also step in.
Thank you very much, Director. Do we have any other? Councillor Bowen.
If I may, I know that I've already spoken on this, but now that we've changed the motion, I think I'm probably entitled to have another go at it. With point number 3, then I'm quite happy to support this, because I think that then changes the whole notion. We're approving this, and by the way, let's have another go. Let's have a go around the whole town, and I think that's a much better. The optics there are significantly improved, so I'm going to vote for it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowen. Any other comments for or against? I'm going to put it to the meeting. All those in favour? All those against? Carried unanimously. Thanks, councillors. We now move into item 17.1, which is the Australia Day 2024 award.